Okay, so you came in, you had all these kind of different strategies that you're thinking about. You had your buy to let, you sent it over to serviced accommodation. So yeah, a bit of an update. How did it go? Is it still serviced accommodation? And then where did you go from there?
Yes, so it is still serviced accommodation at the minute. We're always looking at the best way moving forward. So one of the ideas we've got with the serviced accommodation is, do we continue with that as a service accommodation unit, which is doing well, or do we look to utilise selling it and getting the equity out of the property and buying, say, 2 more properties? Because I think the property that we've bought at the minute, you know, yes, you can borrow funds, and yes, you can get bridging finance, and yes, you can raise private investment, but you know, sometimes it's whether or not it's more useful to utilise getting more cash out of the assets you've got. So we're always looking at the way forward with that as well, to utilise the assets we've already got to raise more money on that, to be able to progress more quickly, I suppose. So yes, so the plan is the flip property needs to go on the market within the next month. So that'll go up for sale. And then obviously it's finding the next property, really, finding the next deals.
So what made you choose to do a flip? I'm always sort of really, really interested in this kind of thing. And how did you choose what? I mean, obviously, again, going back to there being so many options, obviously, you know, you could buy a, you know, 1 bed, convert it into a 2 bed, flip that. You could buy a mansion, convert it into a hotel and flip that. You can, you know, there's just so many. What kind of, did you really kind of hone down? I know you talked about the area, but the property type as well. Did you look at, so I talk about fishing in a pond where no one else is fishing. And quite often, you know, there's certain properties that everyone wants to buy. So it might be first time buyers or homeowners plus investors. And you know, it's whether that product at the end. So again, I've got a developer who's made these fantastic 5-bed houses, but in that particular area right now, they're not selling. You know, so that's cool. You know, they were before when he started, it seemed like a great market. So how have you sort of gone about choosing this property?
Well, the idea of a flip was, again, to try and generate some more cash. So in the longer term, I think what I'd rather do is buy them, refurbish them, put a mortgage on, and pull as much of the money back out and still retain the property. But the idea of this one was trying to get some cash, you know, sell it on, because then you can get some cash out of the money that you've made. So I think when choosing the property, the location of the property is really nice. It's a probate property. The location's nice. It just needed completely refurbishing, to be honest. And I suppose really at the back of my mind was always, what's the backup if we can't sell it and get what we want for it? It still would be great for serviced accommodation. It still would be great as a buy to let. Now, in my mind, it was having the other strategies on the first one to know that I had a backup if the first one didn't quite get what we wanted. And then I suppose the second thing really is, I mean, to be totally honest, anything is a deal if you can buy it at the right price, isn't it? Let's be honest. So with this particular property, we managed to negotiate down twice the price. And that was really, it wasn't meant to be difficult to the vendors. It was more just being honest with the agent and saying, look, this is what we're going to do with it. We're running the numbers. The market sort of dropped a bit last year, at the end of last year, after we put our first offer in. It was more, we've run the numbers and we can't make this work. So we are going to have to drop we're going to have to drop our offer. But we completely understand if the vendors want to go elsewhere, we accept they have to do what's best for them, but this is where we are and this is the price we can pay. And they still went with us. So that was their choice at the end of the day. I suppose it was no chain as well. So I think getting at the right price, making sure you've got your budget and your contingency correct, and knowing what your end value is. But breaking the ceiling, I mean, the idea is to break the ceiling price on that road.
Do you want to just explain, if somebody doesn't understand what that means? Do you want to explain what that means?
Yes. So ceiling price really is sort of, when I look at prices for a property I'm buying, I'm looking at the prices they've previously sold for. So that doesn't necessarily mean they've been marketing that price. It's looking at the actual sold prices. And breaking the ceiling price means I want to get a higher price, sell it for a higher price than any other property on that same property type on that road has achieved before.
And that's really great for varying reasons, is that you can actually raise the value of properties, and then it may be that you go and buy a very similar property, and there's already so when valuation officers go around, they can already see that this is the level of those properties, and so that where it should be. I know quite a few sort of really successful developers as well who do exactly that. They go into an area, they create an incredible product, it may be HMO or whatever, and they sell it so that they have that really high ceiling price, and then that enables them to go out and buy many more and know that they've got an extremely good chance of hitting those higher levels. Whereas, you hear so many, don't you, of people getting these down valuations, and that causing some major issues. So it's a really great thing. So just to try and get this into perspective in the journey that you're going, what is your long-term goal for property?
To have a passive income. We have a signage business, but that involves manufacturing involves being there and doing the actual physical work. So ways to do more work or more staff or find, it's very much more hands-on. It can't be as passive. So the idea would be more that we have a portfolio so that we've got more passive income, and that gives us choices then going into retirement. And it's about choices. It doesn't mean that we will not work, because both my husband and I, we really enjoy work, and I can't see us ever not working. But it's about having those choices to travel, or choices to, do different things with our time, I suppose. So it's about doing that. But I also think would be nice to have some sort of legacy, and I don't know if that provides inspiration to other people. I'd like to say other older women, but I do genuinely mean that. There's not actually ever a reason why at any stage of your life you can't think you can actually have a career change or go and do something different. So if that provides inspiration to people, then good. That's a good thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So it would seem that, so this kind of flip is to enable you to grow a bigger pot, to enable you to go off and purchase more properties, and you'll have a certain level where you'll have that return that you want, to give you the choice whether to, sell your sign business or whatever, and sort of keep it going like that. Is that the plan?
Yeah. And I think it's been very much that we've had sort of an open day. We'll do another one when it's completed, generating interest as well. There are people who like the idea of being involved but don't want to do it themselves. There's sort of always that opportunity if people want to be private investors, even if it's people who think, oh, I'd like to have a go at that. They can, I'm not saying we've done everything correctly, but they can sort of have a look in the way that we've done it or learn from that as well. We've bought it in a limited company. A lot of people don't realise that's an option. So it's sort of, isn't it? It's a good giving payback, really, and sharing your experience. And I learn from other people. I'm always learning from other people in things that they've done where they shared ideas as well.
Amazing. And I think that's a really key one. And obviously sort of doing things like this, but with the banks as they are not as friendly, let's be fair, to borrow from. They can be quite challenging. Obviously, that you absolutely need banks, and especially when you want that kind of long-term lending, that they really are fantastic. But when you want sort of, especially if it's kind of short-term lending, any kind of bridging, there can be varying hoops, obviously extremely expensive. And if you can work with a private investor, it can be a real win-win. But exactly as you said, you do actually have to let them know. So quite often, and I'm terrible with this, like people just genuinely presume that you've got all the money that you need, but you always have money tied up in varying projects, and you're always going to have, you know, not necessarily the right money in the right place at the right time. And it is a great opportunity to work with investors. So I love the fact that you've done these open days, not only to showcase what you can do, but help other people, because if you've got loads of cash in the bank, it's just going backwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's great. And this kind of leads on really nicely. One of the things that I've really liked about you is you've really embraced this kind of, and I've attempted it as well, is building up this brand, getting this awareness. So, and this was kind of very much this year.